everyone. This is Bevan, and welcome to the Seila Fire Podcast with my good buddy, creator, and writer, James Masha. James, what up?
Hello.
This is the Talkback podcast for the novel, The Seila Fire Emergence, now available on roguematter.com. And James, this is the entire chapter. We're done. You can read the entire book now on Rogue Matter, right?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Look at that. You should join the movement and go rogue at roguematter.com. And we are here to talk about the final chapter. That's right. I did a callback from last episode. You're welcome, everybody.
Yes.
James enjoyed it. James, I don't know about you, but I am really excited for some fall. I know that you're a teacher, so maybe you're not as excited because you have the summer off, but I am a person that I am loving me some, I don't even drink coffee, but some pumpkin spice smells, cinnamon, foliage, what, come on, get on my bandwagon just a little bit about fall.
Well, they've had those out since August.
Oh, I mean, it's so sad that's true. But I mean, like the change in the air. I like to do like a little infinity scarf and like my routine layering. Are you a layering kind of guy?
No, generally I'm a short sleeve kind of guy year round.
Really? Even when it's like 20 degrees outside?
Yeah, I run hot usually. So yeah, I'll wear a jacket, but I'm generally short sleeves.
Oh, wow. I'm envious. I get cold so easily. So the layering is like my friend because like either it's like really cold. See, this is what I didn't like about summer. It's really boiling hot outside. And then when you go inside, it's like a refrigerator because everyone has the AC like cranked up. So it's like you still need a sweater in the summer, I feel like, if you're like me.
Yep. Yeah, I don't enjoy going out in the heat in the summer.
Me neither, my friend. Me neither. But I am really excited to talk to you about the last chapter because I think you wrapped everything up really nicely in a bow, even though we experienced like some major like showdowns, like Sheriff Howard confronts Jackson and like bests him, which is like such a David and Goliath kind of move because he basically bested like the top government. Was he FBI or what branch was he in?
He's undisclosed.
That's how big he is.
He's just undisclosed. But if you had to go with a branch, it's probably CIA.
CIA?
Yeah.
Okay. Because they like brought in tanks. Like it looked like really scary for a second. As I was reading it, I was like visualizing what this would look like if it was like a TV show or a film where like the tanks are being brought in, the soldiers are being brought in. And how large is this town?
Oh, it's not very big at all. I mean, today it's probably a mile to a mile and a half from one end to the other, and then maybe just as wide across. It's
so
not very big.
So would you say most people can get to the lake where the cannon fire was happening pretty fast then?
Yeah, the river, yes.
The river, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The river, yeah. That is, yeah. So yeah, it was really scary too because like they were going around passing out sheets saying that like everyone has to come to a town hall meeting and Howard has decided to get Betty and Mike out of town because he really cares about people knowing about it. Although you did see a moment where Sheriff Howard thought, and this is a testament to your writing about like Jackson really did have a good point as to the argument of I don't think the American public can handle this if you get it out, so he wavered a little bit on, well, maybe he has a point. Maybe the story should not go live. And, but at the end of the day, when he found out that, Jackson was planning on annihilating an entire town, he was like, well, yeah, he was like, screw this guy. Betty, get out of here. Go tell your story. Let me stick with my town. My wife is here. My child is here. My people are here. So Sheriff Howard had like a badass Western moment where he's like he needs to run these guys out. So that was really enjoyable. Do you have any thoughts on like how you were thinking it was going to play out, how Howard was going to best him? Did you ever waver on if Howard was going to take Jackson's side or not?
No, no, I never wavered myself on whether he was going to take the side or not. But I always it couldn't have been a power struggle. We'll just say that it could not have been. The first time he got him out, through a little, I guess you can say a little bit of power struggle, but this time he could not possibly win.
Yeah.
That way. So it had to have been, the form of trickery that he kind of uses.
Yeah, and I thought it was so neat. It reminded me, it's not a great comparison, but it reminded me of, you've seen the Three Amigos, right?
Yep.
Where the town like all become the amigos to confuse El Guapo. Like I thought that was very clever. So it was almost like when he said I deputized the entire town and everyone's slowly been arresting everyone. It's like, oh man, that would be really cool to just kind of see, little town folks like, you're under arrest.
Yeah, so I don't think it was the little old ladies doing it, but yes.
No, yes, it was the guys. But you could have an old man like, you're under arrest, and I'm a deputy now.
Yeah, so slowly but surely, pulling them, one by one, getting, these men out until all that's left is Jackson.
Yeah, and I like that he's like, good, go ahead, call my bluff. Here's my walkie-talkie. See if you can get anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, jerk. It was great. It was really nice. But it made me kind of like wonder, like, if Howard had a plan after that. Like, how was he going to avoid Washington, D.C. coming down on him?
Oh, I don't think he would have had a plan after that. If that didn't work, I think that he was all sorts of screwed.
Yeah, and I think he was also kind of hoping that maybe the foursome would come back.
Yeah.
So they could also provide enough evidence to be like, hey, Jackson's kind of broke the law, and here's evidence that he tried to murder an entire town. And by the way, we know somebody in the papers, so if you come after us, it's already leaked that. Yeah, it's already out there that the government tried to get a town annihilated, and that's not going to help with re-election.
Nope.
Nope, indeed. So when mapping out the future of our society, walk me through what you were like kind of inspired by in terms of how, the lab coats versus the batons and the wardrobe and stuff. Because I was pleasantly surprised to see that they were all still wearing, even though it was 500 years in the future, they were less Star Trek-y and more like lab coat button downs.
Well, the thing is, like, we only see a very small part of the future here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everything that happens in the future happens in like 3 or 4 different rooms of this one facility. So it's not, you're not seeing like, the entire society here. But yeah, it's the lab coats and everything, because we are in a scientific facility. They are studying and trying to figure out this technology that the aliens, left behind. Well, I can't even say left behind, that, that we stole from the aliens after we killed them.
Yeah, and we get to meet a new character, Dr. Raven, who turns out and this is so interesting, like, it turns out that he is related to both Gray and Diana, which was a massive coincidence that he acknowledges himself. Like, what are the chances?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Diana is pregnant, which we know. And then we know that Gray and Katerina are hooking up. And it's, in my mind, because it hasn't been written, but, it's their kids that get together.
Ah. Okay.
That's where the line starts.
Yeah, no, can you walk me through that line theory again? Because time travel is so peculiar. So he tries to explain it like, what would happen if it got cut in half? Would it run parallel, right?
Well, yeah, it's always with time travel. It's always, are we on a single timeline, and then if we whatever we change in the past changes the future, or is it that, like, we'll go with the Marvel multiverse theory, where every decision leads to a different branch of the timeline, where things are different everywhere.
And who
So
first came up with this theory? Do you know?
couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. Okay. But why did you favor one kind of theory over the other, and what made you come to the conclusion of like, well, this is the theory I'm going to go with for this story?
I went with the theory of the single timeline, just because it works more for the story. I mean, honestly.
And
Go ahead.
no, please
Uh,
finish your thought.
I mean, like, as far as theory goes, I mean, I don't know whether that's true or not, but like I said, it works best for the story. And I don't, everybody's doing like these whole, like, same universe, different universe things. I didn't want to do that.
Well, it's nice to be different because
Yeah.
that seems to be the bandwagon of what things are going on right now with everything everywhere all at once. And then the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Cinematic Universe kind of doing something that comic books have been covering for a while. I think they started covering it, what, in the 80s?
DC acknowledged it in the 80s, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But time travel is can give people like a massive headache when trying to think about the calculations and how it would work. And I love that you brought in something new and different for me, which was because Dr. Raven is related to Gray and Diana. He starts aging rapidly, but nobody else does, and it's he must be that smart that he's coming to that conclusion of, oh, it's because they are here that I'm aging rapidly, instead of just dissolving or disappearing. He's just graying and aging.
Yes. I wanted it to be something that, more than just disappearing, because if he just disappears, then how do we figure this out? Type of thing.
Correct.
You know? So what could I do to show him deteriorating into nothingness? And it was, just the rapidly aging thing is what came to mind there.
So in terms of like, because obviously they go back thanks to the parachutes, which is so funny to me that the future would not even think about parachutes, but Diana didn't even know what an airplane was, and that's like,
Well,
wow.
well, they also, weren't intending to release them, hundreds of feet in the air.
Yeah, true. And
Mm-hmm.
now that they know that, but do you think that do we see, or do you know that if once they go back, if Raven like resumes to his body the way it was, or if he's just kind of stuck in that deteriorated?
Well, it was big. He'll go back to,
Okay.
it'll revert, because the whole idea was that they've come to the future. He can't send them back now with knowledge of the future.
Yeah.
So he wants to keep them there. And then he realizes, oh crap, I can't, because then I die. I can't do the research here. That means that where the whole human race is pretty much screwed.
Yeah. Do you think, with the knowledge that he knows, and maybe this is for another book, do you think he would decide to try a different type of machine, or would he still keep sending people back to the past?
Well, by the end of this, he's deciding that he can't do anything with this until they actually figure it out. Because remember, the original intention isn't to send people back to the past, it was to send them to other habitable planets.
Yeah.
And, so until they can figure out how to actually do that,
they can't send anybody back.
They can't send them back because, one, we're killing everybody.
Yeah.
Almost everybody. And, two, we don't know where they're going to end up and how they're going to affect
the timeline.
The timeline, yeah.
Yeah, which is a pretty scary thing. Like, it would be, I would think it'd be a scary thing to be like, well, are we meant to send people back in time? Or are we supposed to keep trying to find other habitable planets so we don't mess with the time stream and chaos,
Mhm.
kind of thing. It's
Right.
very, very fascinating. Um, excuse me. So I think, what's nice about wrapping all this up is it does leave the doors open for more.
Mm.
Are you able to spill the beans on what is coming after?
Well, if there is another part. Mhm.
Ooh.
Yes. Well, it is in the very last chapter. It's revealed that Raven does tell Diana something and kind of gives her a little, well, we'll say a mission to perform when she gets back to the past with everybody,
Okay.
so that he can hopefully change things, or things can be changed for the better, and that will lead us into
A
the
further
next,
installment.
yes, the further installment. That is what, yeah, that is what we will learn there.
But I still imagine that it would be very hard for Diana and these guys to, even though Gray and Robbins,
Rollins,
Collins, I had it right.
Rollins.
Rollins. There we
Hmm.
go. I was like Rollins. So many names. Because I think there's a Robinson as well, correct?
Yes, there was a Robinson. Yes.
There is a Robinsons. Robinson, Rollins,
Uh,
Gray.
they're all based on, like, I can't say real people. They're not based on real people, but they're based on real events. So I took
Yeah,
the actual, played with the names and everything.
that's cool.
Yeah. So
I mean, even though they're given a facility to like study flying saucers and aliens and stuff like that, they still haven't been given information about the alien invasion. The only thing they know is that Diana has said that they are already here.
they're already here.
They're already here. So it's like I can't imagine, especially again in the 1950s where, we don't have a lot of evidential proof that the government is willing to, go public about. It must still be a struggle for her to try and fix anything in this time period.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, cuz it's like you're about to enter the 60s in like what, 7 years?
Yeah, 7 more years.
Yeah, and 7 more years is the 60s where there's a lot of political unrest and distrust in the government, and you get the Vietnam War. So it's again, it's so fascinating your choice of time period to place the story narrative, because it's just such a completely different outcome than if it were based today.
Yes. Today it would be totally different. The technology ruins everything. Let's just put it this way. That way.
Well, it does and it doesn't. It's like a two-faced flip of a coin.
Hmm.
It's either helpful or it's hurtful.
Right. I mean, just, imagine how easy it would be if it was set today. Rollins was down there in Southport. I mean, the only problem that he might have getting the communication out would be, oh, I have no signal on my cell phone.
Yeah.
But, information gets transmitted instantly now, whereas, back then, not so
There's more.
much.
Well, there's more mystery, and Russian spies are everywhere, and so it's always
Still.
that question. It's always a question of, is it the Russians? Is it aliens? Is it just an idiot?
Is it all three?
Is it all three at once?
Hmm.
Is it the government conspiracy? Is it the Masons?
It's all of that.
It's all of that.
All of it.
It's just the whole shebang. So ending out this novel, did you have a favorite character that you landed on? Like, I really liked this character's beginning, middle, and end.
I love Katarina's, her journey through the story, where she ends up at the end, which is, working for the U.S. sort of. Sort
Well,
of.
she can't go back home to the motherland at this
Cannot go
point.
back home. No, she is stuck.
Yeah, she's stuck.
Yeah. I do like Rollins' character. Going through. So adamant to proving that it's aliens, and then realizing, oh, no, it's not.
But he still gets proof that aliens do exist
Yes.
and
Hmm.
that they are eventually a problem, just not in his lifetime,
No,
hypothetically.
correct.
Ooh, I mean, it left me more curious about like if they're already there, what are they doing now? And would we find out more in, say, another book that might come?
That would be lovely. Yes, that is the plan. Yes,
That is fun. Do you have that mapped out?
I have part of it done. Part of it mapped out, rather, not done.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't have
I
anything
always.
done yet.
Oh, gotcha. When writing this book, do you normally outline things first before, like, do you do like a character arc breakdown first, or do you do like the main A plot first and then put in your B's and C's?
See, it depends. It depends on the story that I am writing.
Uh huh.
Um, Usually, I have a premise that I'm going with, and then I have an
Okay.
ending, and then everything in between is up for grabs. So
Okay.
I have the premise, I have the ending, and then I have no idea what's going on until I get there, get to that end. Um,
Gotcha.
but there are times where I do have everything 100% mapped out. And when it came to this story, because there were so many different characters
Yeah.
doing so many different things, all interweaving throughout, this one was a lot more mapped out than not.
Previous work. Yeah.
Yes, than previous work. So
That's fascinating. I mean, because I'm not a writer, but I know there's several writers that are listening to this right now. So, do you have like a piece of advice you would give them when mapping out, like, because this is an ensemble cast, and I love ensemble cast stories. Do you have a piece of advice that you can give to them about this?
the only thing that I can say is, if you do have the plan mapped out, don't be afraid to change it,
Great.
because, like some characters in some stories, like Marcy was not supposed to be a major player, and then she ends up being a major player,
Hmm.
in the course of the story. So um we have to, you have to roll with it sometimes. Sometimes the characters will tell you, will not go away. We'll just say that. Sometimes the characters
Okay.
will not go away, and you have to add them into places that you might not be expecting.
Yeah, especially if they could be useful for furthering along the plot.
Right.
Yeah, that's fun. Ooh, if you get to do another novel, is there one character in particular that you're like, I am going to do something different with them, and I can't wait to shake things up?
The idea that I have would focus a lot more on Diana's character in the next.
Okay, right, because she's been given a mission,
Yes.
and
So
should she
focus.
choose to accept it,
Hmm. No video tapes or cassette tapes blowing up though.
dang it. I mean, would you keep it? Would you keep it to be still in the 50s, or would you put it further into the 60s?
I probably set it a couple of years after.
Okay, so right before the 60s.
Yeah, it would
Ooh,
still
that's
probably be
fun.
the 50s. Yeah.
Is there any year in particular that, like, it's important to maybe place it in due to technology or what the government is doing with the Russians
Well,
or
yeah,
UFOs?
it's all about where I can fit it into history, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
So you want to know also the convenient thing about Southport
Yeah.
also is a year after this happens, a hurricane comes and destroys the town.
Ooh, that's very convenient.
So even, no matter what, you know, it's it doesn't matter. Like what happens here just didn't matter because the the town is gone, or at least, partially, gone, a year after this happens.
Wow.
So,
That's very
but
smart.
but I also said it in 1953 because I think we talked about this back during the first episode.
Yeah.
Because it was right after the U.F.O scares where, UFOs are flying over Washington, D.C. and
Yeah.
Everything. So this is when that Project Blue Book started up,
Yeah.
at the Pentagon and everything. So this is where this is where it was perfect to set it. So wherever I decide to set it for the second part is dependent on what I can find in history.
And history has its eyes on you.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, James, I hope we get to have a follow-up discussion. This is a fantastic book, guys. I really enjoyed it. I love the twists and the turns. I love that I couldn't predict what was going to happen, and it intrigued me to see where it could go from here.
Yay.
Yay. Well, James, thanks so much. And I hope to chat with you again soon. But guys, until further notice, this is our final Seila Fire podcast talkback episode. So, James, where can everyone stay up to date with you?
Just search up Dren Productions on social media or go to drenproductions.com.
All right, James, until next time you and I cross paths, thank you so much.